Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. The central bank releases its grip on the Naira, releases a set of guidelines for the implementation of a flexible foreign exchange market. The federal government resolves to adopt external borrowing to bridge the gap in the infrastructure funding. Governor Akinwumi Ambode throws his weight behind efforts geared towards fighting cancer in the country. And Egyptian investigators say wreckage of the Egypt Air Paris-Cairo flight has been found in the Mediterranean 1 month after the crash. Just a quick reminder that all our top stories are on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. And do visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. And we encourage you to use the eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app. If you have pictures or videos to share with us, tap the app on your device, swipe to reveal the eyewitness menu and follow the instructions.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
We can now share with you some of those pictures that were sent to our portal. And the first one we have is from Potiskum-Kano Highway. It shows a vehicle overloaded with passengers. Our eyewitness reporter wants men of the Federal Road Safety Corps to arrest drivers of such vehicles. And in this photo, it was sent in from GRA Link Road in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, and it shows vehicles parked on the street. Our eyewitness reporter says these are abandoned vehicles which should be taken off the road. The next one comes from Okwe Secondary School in Okwe area of Asaba, the Delta State capital, and it shows the flooded premises of the school. Our eyewitness reporter wants the government to do something about it. And here's one of a flooded road from Idado Estate in Lekki, Lagos. Our eyewitness reporter wants the relevant authorities to fix it. Let's end with this one from Ikorodu area, also here in Lagos, and it shows a flooded road. Our eyewitness reporter calls on residents to support the government to fix it.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Thanks a lot for all your pictures. Do send us some more. We're staying now with our lead story as the CBN unveils a new Forex market policy. And joining me now on the news at 10 is the Chief Executive of Economic Associates, Dr. Ayo Teriba. Thank you so much for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you very much.
Now, glancing through the keynotes of this new policy and the guidelines, were you happy with what you saw?
Well, it's not about being happy. It's more about facing the fact that this has been called for by the crisis in which the country has found itself, in which export earnings could hardly cover import commitments. It's a necessary step. The government had hesitated for more than a year to deal with this, and it's good that they have come to a point that they're willing to accept and face the reality that they have to let go of a controlled exchange rate and let the market determine the value of the naira.
Is this the answer to the direction that economists like yourself have been calling for?
This is not the answer to economic policy direction. This is a response to a crisis. It's a short-term response to a crisis situation. Economic policy direction has to concentrate on how Nigeria will boost its foreign exchange inflows from the rest of the world. Until you take steps, Nigeria focuses, I think, too much, rather monolithically, on export income. Countries with strong currencies don't focus only on export incomes. They get as much from investment as they do on export income. And Nigeria gets next to nothing from foreign investment. Nigeria needs to play up that investment game at the moment.
We were listening to the CBN governor reeling out some of the guidelines, and he had said that it might be necessary for the CBN to intervene periodically. If it's going to be market-driven, will it be necessary for them to do so?
As a player in the market, governments can always buy and sell. when they consider it necessary.
All right. Now, also, he talked about 41 items that remain inadmissible for Forex transactions. We were looking at some of those items: rice, cement, margarine, toothpicks, meat and processed meat, processed vegetable oil. All these are things that people tend to bring in. Is that not going to help our local manufacturers, who are obviously going to be looking for Forex to bring in raw materials?
The reason you have to import these items in the first place has nothing to do with whether you can get Forex for them or not. It has everything to do with the fact that Nigeria needs to make the domestic economy more competitive. For example, make sure there is energy, make sure that transport costs drop. Until you fix those, whatever you do on the exchange rate market, it's not going to affect them. The move to a market-determined exchange rate, I think, is a welcome move. It's something that has been called for by many stakeholders for long. The other issue, the fact that this prohibition list persists, is not a very happy thing. Many would want, if you say it's a market-determined rate, why do you exclude particular items? It's an exchange, it's not a robbery. People will part with naira value to obtain hard currency value. So we hope that sooner rather than later, the central bank will do away with prohibition list and let the market freely work.
Now that the CBN has released its grip on the naira, how do you react to what the finance minister was saying about external borrowing? Do you agree with her?
My view, I actually think the same solution to the Forex shortage is also the solution to the shortage of infrastructure funding. Nigeria should not be seeking to borrow to fund infrastructure. Nigeria should be seeking to attract foreign investment into infrastructure.
Haven't we been doing that already?
I'm afraid we did that in telecoms. But there are other big network infrastructure like rail, like power transmission, that are currently under government monopoly, that even if investors want to come in, they can't come in. That's why you are borrowing. If you remove government monopoly like you had done in telecoms, you will see investment flood into those sectors like we have seen in telecoms, and you won't need to borrow.
Another key area of interest is the introduction of primary dealers that will deal with the CBN on a two-way quote basis. Who are those primary dealers going to be? We understand we shall know them on Friday.
You have to wait. You have to wait.
What do you think they're going to be? Everybody's anxious at the moment.
You have to wait for the central bank to announce who the primary dealers are.
All right, Chief Executive Officer of Economic Associates, Dr. Eyewitness. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on the news at 10 tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, the Senate today constituted an ad hoc committee to examine the audit report of the Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. NATI's report alleges that there are cases of fraud in the nation's extractive industry to the tune of $12 billion. The Senate says the ad hoc committee is expected to come up with a draft legislation aimed at ending cases of non-remittance of public funds to the Federation account.
Discussions aimed at ensuring transparency and accountability in the nation's extractive industry are not yet over, as the issue formed the thrust of discourse at most fora. The latest of the discussions was the debate on the floor of the Senate few weeks after it summoned the Executive Secretary of NATI to explain why the nation lost $5.9 billion in the extractive industries. The new head of NATI briefs members of the upper legislative chamber of happenings in the sector.
Out of the $5.9 billion that we lost, $4.7 billion was lost to theft and vandalism. 20 billion naira was lost because NNPC did not observe the 90-day credit grace. And when you look at the time value of money, and if you calculate it at 12% interest, the country lost 20 billion naira because of that.
To stem the tide of what has been the order of the day in the sector, he gave recommendations on what should be done.
Corruption is likely to occur where there's monopoly, and there's discretion, and there's lack of accountability. So we think in trying to solve a major problem of our society today, we need to go about it in a very systematic and strategic way.
The matter enjoyed the contributions of many of the legislators.
Most of these so-called corruption fights that we are talking about today We are talking about 300 million naira, 100 million in local government. We are chasing politicians up and down. And yet, the only agency or agencies that give lifeline to the economy of the country remain the bulk NMPC with its associates, NAPIMS and all that, and the MPDC. And then you are talking about billions of dollars that did not come to Federation account.
After 2.5 hours of debate on the matter, the Senate President announced the resolution of the Senate.
I think general opinion is that we will set up an audit committee with the responsibility of addressing this, with the terms reference to re-examine the financial processes and the fiscal audit report of the 90, the financial loss and leakages to government and all its ramifications.
The committee has 4 weeks to submit its report.
The House of Representatives expects the revenue generated by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency to be used for the public good and not for private interests. The Speaker of the House of Representatives gave this charge during the public hearing on alleged revenue leakages and operational deficiencies at NIMASA. Our correspondent Lanre Lasisi reports.
Heads and representatives of government ministries, agencies and departments gather in the House of Representatives for a public hearing.
So NIMASA is not exempted from this.
It's focused on the revenue leakages and operational deficiencies in the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. The chairman of the committee, welcoming participants, made it clear that the investigation intends to ensure that government gets its due.
Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that it is worrisome and unacceptable that revenue losses in excess of $10 billion over the past 15 years has been revealed. And I repeat, this is totally unacceptable.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, declaring the investigation open, touched on how the agency is perceived by the public.
But public perception is that it's profligate, unaccountable, and wasteful of government resources. If you doubt this, I guess the ongoing trial and investigation of NIMASA underpins the point I'm laboring to make here.
Agreeing with the Speaker, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Transportation said government is also carrying out a full investigation into all the operations of the agency.
Furthermore, and arising from investigations which are ongoing, a number of the agency's top management and senior staff are either facing trial and/or are being investigated by relevant agencies. This will holistically address most of these issues and help to block most of the leakages.
These are steps he believes will complement the work of the House Committee. The Director General of NIMASA outlined some of the challenges confronting the agency.
Most of the irregularities in our record is due to double billing, disclaimed and disputed bills. There are cases where shipping companies, shipping agents dispute bills, and in a few cases, there are ongoing negotiations.
The committee also heard from other participants at the forum. The committee is expected to submit its report to the House for consideration and adoption. Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
When the news at 10 returns, our community report tonight takes a look at the menace of street begging. Do join us again.